Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people. We pray that native-born Albertans and those who have come from other places may continue to work together to preserve and enlarge the precious heritage called Alberta. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions.
Member for Calgary-Bow.
Speaker, I respectfully request that the petition I presented in the Assembly yesterday be now read.
The petition of the undersigned residents of the province of Alberta shows that the Mobile Home Sites Tenancies Act neither affords tenants of mobile home sites reasonable security of tenure nor adequately protects them from a number of abuses and unfair practices. Wherefore, your petitioners humbly pray that your Honourable Assembly may be pleased the Mobile Home Sites Tenancies Act in such a manner that the interests of tenants of mobile home sites and their landlords are more equitably balanced. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Calgary Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Private Bills Committee has had under consideration certain bills and reports the following. The committee recommends to the Assembly that the following bills be proceeded with. Bill PR1, the Cynthia Lynn Rankin Adoption Act. Bill PR2, the First Canadian Casualty Insurance Act. Bill PR3, the Carmelite Nuns of Western Canada Act. Bill PR4, the Caritas Health Group Act. Bill PR5, the Lee Justin Littlechild Adoption Act. Bill PR7, the Medicine Hat Community Foundation Act. Bill PR8, the Calgary Municipal Heritage Properties Authority Amendment Act, 1992. Bill PR10, St. Mary's Hospital Trochu Amendment Act, 1992. Bill PR12, Calgary Foundation Amendment Act, 1992. Bill PR14, the Carolyn Deborah Peacock Adoption Act, and Bill PR15, the Victory Bible College Act. The committee further recommends to the Assembly that the following bill proceed with some amendments. Bill PR6, the Rocky Mountain College Act, as amended. The committee further recommends to the Assembly that the following bills not be proceeded with. Bill PR11, the Frederick James Harris Adoption Act, and Bill PR13, the Den Tobias Dean Adoption Act.
Having heard the report, those in favor of concurrence, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Member for Edmonton-Avonmore, followed by West Lochland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce Bill number 318, being the Widows Pension Amendment Act. It would act to correct the injustice suffered by people who have never been married or who are divorced.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Avonmore has moved first reading to Bill 318, Widows Pension Amendment Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 318, Widows Pension Amendment Act, introduced by Honourable Lang, is now read a first time.
Member for West Loch Sturgeon.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill number 254, being the Water Transfer Control Act. This bill recognizes water as a precious and limited resource and requires public hearings and approval from the Minister of Environment before any water is transferred out of a provincial drainage basin into another Canadian drainage basin. Transfer of water outside Canada is banned entirely.
The honourable member for West Loch Sturgeon has moved first reading to Bill 254, Water Transfer Control Act. Those members in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 254, Water Transfer Control Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Taylor, is now read a first time.
Mr. Westlock Sturgeon.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill number 269, being an amendment to the Alberta Hail and Crop Insurance Act. This bill provides for a 14-day period during which the owner or possessor of assets that have been seized under the Act can submit an objection, as is already the case in other avenues under the Seizures Act.
Member for Westlock Sturgeon has moved first reading of Bill 269, Alberta Hail and Crop Insurance Act. Those members in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 269, Alberta Hail and Crop Insurance Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Taylor, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I want to table with the Assembly a copy of the letter and the attachments which were sent on May 29th to Hospital Board Chairman, health service agencies, and health professional organizations.
Thank you. Minister of Advanced Education.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to table today annual reports of another 4 of the 27 post-secondary institutions, the Alberta College of Art, Lakeland College, Lethbridge Community College, and Red Deer College.
18 more to go. Member for Calgary-Glenmore.
Speaker, I'm pleased today to table the report of the Task Force on Recognition of Foreign Qualifications. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the number of departments who participated in this report. And I'd like to thank the Honourable Elaine McCoy, Honourable Doug Main, and my friend to the here, Mr. Zaruski, Chairman of Culture and Multiculturalism, and Norm Weiss. Thank you.
Honourable member, in the chamber, in formal session, we refer to the members, the ministers by their departments and the members by their constituency. Sorry.
Introduction of special guests.
Calgary Fish Creek.
Mr. Speaker, it's a genuine pleasure for me today to introduce to you and to the other members of the Assembly 52 students from the Holtain Memorial Elementary School in the Calgary Fish Creek constituency. They're accompanied today by 4 teachers, Mrs. Prasad, Mr. Garrett, Mrs. Keel, and Mrs. Van Bussel, and 5 parents, Mrs. Rolls, Mr. Nielsen, Mrs. Dennis, Mrs. Menzel, and Mrs. Rowland. I would ask our special guests to rise in the public gallery and be greeted warmly by the members of the Assembly.
Member from Drumheller, followed by the Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
Speaker, I wish to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in your gallery of Dr. Sin Nguyen and Mr. Bo Latint, Burmese Democratic representatives. I had the pleasure of visiting with them for a short time earlier this day, and I would ask that they rise and receive the cordial welcome of the Assembly.
Minister.
Important visitor from abroad with us today, also sitting in your gallery. I have the privilege to introduce His Excellency Geza Ent, who is the Political Secretary of State responsible for Hungarians abroad. For the Republic of Hungary, Mr. Ent has led a distinguished career, including serving as the Political Secretary of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, as well as conducting research at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, and he was recently appointed the President of the Institute responsible for Hungarians abroad. Of course, Alberta and Hungary have very strong relations. While in Alberta, Mr. Ents will hold discussions with various officials on resources, scientific expertise, and also interest in Hungary. Today, His Excellency is accompanied by Mr. Bela Balac, who is the Honorary Consul for Hungary based in Calgary. I would ask His Excellency to stand now and receive the traditional warm welcome of this Legislative Assembly.
Associate Minister of Agriculture.
Speaker, it is my distinct pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly a group of students from New Brigden School in Chinook constituency. I had the pleasure of having lunch with these students, picnic on the grounds, and catching up on news from home today. Accompanying the students are is their teacher, Miss Lori Jensen, parents Deb Hoffman, Joan Jorgensen, Margaret Brockman, Juanita Wagstaff, and their bus driver, Mr. Heron. Our guests are seated in the members gallery, and I would ask them to rise and receive the very warm welcome of this assembly.
Edmonton Highlands, followed by Calgary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce today to members of the Assembly some 50 senior citizens seated in the public gallery. They're from the Edmonton and Stony Plain area. They joined the official opposition New Democrat caucus at a picnic lunch today, which we held in honor of Seniors Week. I'd ask them now to rise and be recognized by all members of the Assembly.
Calgary McCall.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to today to introduce a number of guests that are with us today from various parts of the province who have been here assisting the functioning of the Alberta Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission in their role as commissioners. Marlene Martin-Spool from Fort McMurray, Kathy Smith from Medicine Hat, Jan McAdam from Calgary, Alan Dietz from Galahad, Saran Alawalia from Coal Lake, and Len Blumenthal, he's in New Sarepta in Edmonton, and Terry Lynn from Edmonton. If they would rise and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Minister responsible for Workers' Compensation Board.
Speaker, I'm getting some missed signals. On my sheet says to introduce my guest after question period, but I see them sitting in the gallery, so maybe I'll do it now. There's 23 grade 6 students here from the David Ovens Elementary School in Sangutto. They're accompanied by their teacher, Lonnie Sturtson, their principal, Ray Galinsky, parents, Mrs. Ruby Wilkinson, Mrs. Bonnie Vanderstein, Mrs. Helen Villabroca, Mrs. Donna Erickson, and Mrs. Joanne Victor. They're seated in the members' gallery. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
That's okay. No problem.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Highlands on behalf of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans continue to be outraged at the loss of more than $566 million given this government's mishandling of the whole Novitas. But the story's not over, Mr. Speaker. Today, the official opposition learned that Novotel, in 1990, lent an American company called Cellular Information Systems $60 million in U.S. funds, Mr. Speaker, which they used not to develop cellular networks in the United States, which is where the company is, but instead to pay down a bank loan, Mr. Speaker. Alberta tax dollars were used to pay down an American company's bank loan in the United States. That's right, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Telecommunications. I'm assuming that he knows that the CIS never paid its loan to Novotel, that its interest since then comes to more than $7 million U.S. I'd like to ask the minister, isn't it true Albertans are now going to be stuck with another $60 million bill because of this minister's mess?
No, Mr. Speaker. The situation is that this particular company is one of two that, as of today, the Management Committee advised me is in default out of the 75 or 76 of the loans that are outstanding. As you know, Mr. Speaker, there is approximately a principal amount of $300 million that is currently owing on the systems side of the business. That has been assessed to determine whatever losses or potential losses may be involved, and indeed a further discount given in order to be absolutely certain that the amount of 216, which we made public,
is in fact the bottom line with respect to any potential losses. And so the answer to the honourable member's question is no.
So the minister is admitting the $216 million that he said was safe is now shot, Mr. Speaker. That's what he's really saying. Mr. Speaker, at the time that Novotel negotiated the loan, Novotel knew that CIS was already in debt for $93 million and was showing net losses on its books of $21 million. How can the minister justify Novotel having gone ahead and lent this company $60 million U.S. knowing those facts?
Mr. Speaker, to start off with, the honourable member's conclusion with respect to the 216 being at risk is absolutely the opposite that I answered. I indicated that there was a total of $300 million principal amount outstanding on these loans, that through assessment, a total assessment of all of those outstanding loans, taking into account the two that I mentioned that are currently in default, and then a further discount of any potential for further loss, we arrived at the figure management committee of 216. And so the 216, indeed, we would believe, and the advice to us is that we will likely recover more than the 216. But that amount is put out there as a conservative estimate with respect to this situation. With respect to this particular loan, Mr. Speaker, it's one that was granted a few years ago by the Novotel board. And at that point in time, the Novotel board was operating under the parameters that they would provide, as indeed other people within the industry were providing, financing for the purchase of cellular systems within the United States. And they also provided certain capital with respect to working capital for startup costs that were associated with that purchase. And so that's the basis upon which they were operating, and we look forward to all of these details, all matters pertaining to these particular loans, going to the Auditor General and having a full review, which the Management Committee is committed to do. Joe?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if this minister wants to spend money in Georgia or Texas, he should be using Georgians or Texans' money, and he should be running in the USA and not here in Canada, Mr. Speaker. Our tax dollars have been totally squandered. I'd like to know how this minister can justify having authorized Novotel to use Alberta tax dollars to be spent on an American company to pay down an American bank loan. How can he justify that to the Alberta taxpayers?
Where do union dues go? Well, Mr. Speaker, I think that all of us are concerned about any loan that may be in default, and that's why the Auditor General is in fact going to review all of these matters. But these parameters were set by the Novotel board some time ago. Since the Management Committee came into place in 1991 in January, they embarked upon a full review. They have found a couple of instances where there were defaults, which indeed have been worked out to some satisfaction, and those particular loans are currently under review, under workout by the Management Committee, and indeed, as I say, all losses that are potential from all of this have already been taken into account in the estimate, Mr. Speaker.
Second main question.
Real lemonade stand, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to designate the second question to the member for Edmonton-Calder.
Calder.
Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate incident in which a young girl died as a result of an accident at a daycare center and the actions of the Minister of Family and Social Services with respect to daycare are causing grave concern among parents who question whether this government is fulfilling its duties in ensuring their children are receiving quality child care. To file documents, Mr. Speaker, that indicate that this minister intervened to lower daycare standards, intervened to prevent a daycare that was clearly breaking and violating regulations from being closed, got rid of an official who attempted to enforce regulations, and has refused to provide information about daycare centers to parents.
For 1 minute.
I'd like to ask the Minister of Family and Social Services, can this minister explain how or why he has taken these actions which are clearly not in the best interest of children and their parents?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, as is so often the way, a tremendous amount of misinformation being provided by the member for Edmonton-Calder. Now, Mr. Speaker, I recognize that the member is trying to come to the defense of a NDP candidate down in Calgary, but I'm not going to discuss a personnel matter in this legislative assembly, Mr. Speaker. In terms of Mr. Speaker, they seem to have difficulty coming to grips with the facts. They ask for them, then they whimper. These are the facts, Mr. Speaker. The facts are this, Mr. Speaker, the facts are this. We have a daycare program in Alberta that is second to none in Canada. We have a daycare program in...
Sit down. Thank you. Honorable members, just cool it for a while. Order. Order. Edmonton Kingsway, I know you're quite vocal today. I think I've now counted about 9 different interjections. Perhaps you just turn the volume down just a touch. Honorable Minister, in answering the question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I always appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about our daycare programs in Alberta and the reforms that we've brought in recent years. I was about to say that we've taken a good daycare system. The member knows that in recent years we've gone through, first of all, Mr. Speaker, an exhaustive consultative process. We worked with parents across this province, and I heard from some 3,000 parents, Mr. Speaker, prior to putting together the most recent daycare reforms. I heard from advocacy groups. I heard from daycare operators, Mr. Speaker, an exhaustive process of consultation with Albertans. And maybe the members opposite don't put a lot of emphasis on consultation, but this minister does. As a result, Mr. Speaker, of that consultation, we brought forward some changes. We increased the standards. We added training requirements that weren't there. We improved the child ratios, Mr. Speaker. I'm very, very pleased with the results of that. We took existing dollars. We focused it on low-income families, in particular single-parent mothers, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Now we'll come to this first supplementary.
Sure. Mr. Speaker, we have a child that has died, and I'm questioning the minister's conduct. The child who died in Edmonton last week was in a group of children older than herself, so that the child-staff ratio permitted far more children per worker than if she would have been in a group of children her own age.
Great.
Mr. Speaker, given a newsletter from the Daycare Society of Alberta, which I have just filed, brags about how this society of commercial daycare operators influenced this minister to lower proposed daycare standards to allow mixed grouping and fewer staff, among a lot of other things. I'd like to ask the minister, can this minister explain why he places the interests of commercial daycare operators over the best interests of the children?
Again, Mr. Speaker, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. I can only reiterate, Mr. Speaker, that the process that I have gone through is a process of consultation with, first and foremost, parents. And I know, again, that the members opposite don't seem to feel that parents have a significant role to play in this. But we believe very much that parents are a big component, Mr. Speaker, in making sure that daycare is appropriate for their children. We're prepared to work in partnership with them. I've done it in the past. It was parents and Albertans that helped me to determine the policies and regulations that we brought forward. And the member knows right now, Mr. Speaker, that it's a committee composed totally of parents that are making the final decisions as it relates to our latest policy regulations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this minister's conduct, he cannot hide behind a parent committee. We're talking about the actions that he has taken. Mr. Speaker, the department is currently conducting an investigation into the death of Cindy White. However, the department is in conflict of interest because it may be at fault for some of the things that have happened in terms of enforcing the regulation. Mr. Speaker, given that it is absolutely crucial that a proper investigation be done, we'd like to ask the minister, will the minister now commit to putting in place an independent investigation of not only the daycare, but of the internal operation of the department? And will he make the findings public?
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker, for the member to suggest that we're hiding behind a parents' committee? Is the member suggesting that we shouldn't listen to parents? Not, Mr. Speaker. Surely not. Surely she must recognize that parents care about their children and that parents should have some say in how daycares are being regulated. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, to come back to the suggestion or the comment that the member made, let me say a couple of things. First of all, there is an independent investigation. The medical examiner is looking at it right now, and that report will be made public. But again, Mr. Speaker, I have confidence in the ability of our workers. We had very senior people down there investigating the circumstances that are there. And I just think, Mr. Speaker, I think that it's very unfortunate that that member and that party would take an incident like this and try to exploit it on a political basis, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Honorable members, take your place. Minister. Honorable members, this is not the game of trying to shout down somebody else. Order, please, honorable member. Order, please, honorable member. Order, please. Calgary Northwest on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was pleased to hear the Minister for Technology, Research and Telecommunications announce today finally that he's been briefed since yesterday and now acknowledges that operating loans, not just system financing loans, but operating loans were granted to General Cellular Corporation. It's now abundantly clear why Northern Telecom and TelXL said we're not going to take the $300 million loan portfolio despite the government writing off $84 million, because it's clear that Novotel was using it to prop up failing companies like General Cellular Corporation. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister, on July 31 last year, 1991, Novotel swapped $78 million for $33 million in cash, a promissory note for $12 million in shares with a grand sum of $4,000. Since the government already had control of Novotel, could the Minister please tell the House why he would allow Novotel to write off $33 million in one fell swoop on this one company?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad of the opportunity actually to respond to the honourable member's question, and also in so doing to respond in part to the leader of the Liberal Party, who raised a specific question on this specific corporation yesterday. And my response at that time to the honourable leader was a general response to a specific concern and a specific reference. In fact, the situation is, and there's no doubt about the fact, that monies were advanced in an extraordinary way to General Cellular Corporation for the purpose of a workout relative to the loan at that time. The company was facing bankruptcy. If the company had gone into bankruptcy, the types of losses would have been quite substantial. But inasmuch as there was a buyer on the horizon for the company, it was felt by the management committee, and with outside advice, international experts that gave advice to them, that they should in fact advance certain monies to enable the takeout and the workout of that loan to take place. As a result, instead of the loss of $78 million, as the honourable leader or the honourable member indicates, the losses that were ultimately written off and already taken into account were in the neighbourhood of $30 million.
Mr. Speaker, on March 31st, the quarterly financial reports for this corporation, the auditors note, quote, the company has no enforceable commitment for future financing, raising substantial doubt as to the company's ability to continue as a going concern. So, Mr. Speaker, my supplementary, the question to the Minister, since the $12 million promissory note is an unsecured note, will the minister admit that that $12 million, in fact, should probably be added to the total on top of the $566 million we've already lost?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to speculate on that. I will say that all matters, as I've said before, all matters pertaining to the system's financing loans and any of the particulars and all of the particulars that relate to that will be in the hands of the Auditor General with specific instructions from our management committee to review those and to confirm the assessment that they made, which indeed has been confirmed by third-party experts in the cellular field who do believe that, in fact, the portfolio represents an asset for Novotel, at least now for the taxpayers of Alberta, and will be recovered in due time. All assessments with respect to potential losses have, to the very best of the ability of the Management Committee and others, been taken to fully establish that that is a firm figure.
I guess when you read between the lines, it really means he really has no idea of what's going on. So my supplementary question is, since we now know there's at least one corporation, this General Cellular, that has received extra financing for operations, will the minister tell the House if there are any other U.S. telecommunications firms that have received operations financing like this, and if so, how much money we got out there?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've indicated the basis upon which General Cellular Corporation received those funds, and as I say, it was a matter to prevent a bankruptcy and to make the best possible realization for the taxpayers under the circumstances in that troubled loan. The general parameters with respect to the financing of the cellular companies in the United States were established in 1988 by the Novotel board, and they really included the basis of providing financing to purchase the cellular systems, as well as providing some working capital for startup purposes and establishing the company to a point where indeed the agreement could be realized upon by Novotel. That's the basis that was established. It was a norm in the industry, and the competitors were obviously doing the same sort of thing, some even with different and preferential basis of financing. But that was the basis of financing, and those are the parameters that were established back in 1988 by the Novotel board.
Glenmore, not Edmonton Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to apologize. I'll now use the ministers responsible for Labour, Women's Issues and Human Rights for organizing the launching of the Bridging of the Gap Task Force report on foreign qualifications today. And I'd also like to refer to the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, the Chair of Multicultural Commission, the Minister of Career Development and Employment responsible for immigration, the Solicitor General, and responsible for professions and occupations. Mr. Speaker, this report is truly an innovative and unique partnership, and I'd like to ask my question to the Minister of Labour, who initiated this report, to outline its education equivalency and what it means for Albertans and new immigrants.
Mr. Speaker, what we have proposed to do is to establish a Foreign Qualifications Information and Assessment Center, and within government a Standards Development and Information Unit that will in fact authenticate and evaluate foreign academic credentials, issue certificates of equivalency comparing foreign academic credentials to Albertan ones, and provide an information and referral service about qualifications and accreditation procedures for all trades and professions in Alberta. Now, this will be a service that will be provided by a non-profit corporation that is run by an independent board of directors and supported by the able assistance of the Professions and Occupations Bureau, headed by the member for Calgary, Glenmore, and the Solicitor General. It is truly a partner between many departments of the government, for which I also am thankful, and those in the community, both in the professions and occupations and trades, and those in immigrant community.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there has been a great deal of concern expressed by immigrants who feel that they are still being discriminated against by professional associations. Could the Minister outline what the Human Rights Commission will be doing in working with the Bureau of Professions and Occupations to help these people who feel that they are indeed, or help them qualify between the distinction of this Education Equivalency Center and the human rights issues.
Mr. Speaker, I think the essential point to remember is that those professional and occupational associations who are licensing bodies will continue to be the decision-making authorities on whether a person gets a license to practice in Alberta. The Equivalency Center in no way interferes with those decisions to issue licenses to practice. However, what it will do is establish the equivalencies. As an example, if a person gets a high school education elsewhere than Alberta, outside the country, this center will be able to give a certificate saying that that is equivalent to whatever number of years of education there would be in Alberta. So it is a certificate which establishes the equivalencies between foreign qualifications and Alberta qualifications. But let me reiterate, the decisions on whether one has a license to practice remains with the professional and occupational associations that have those now.
Avonmore, followed by Edmonton White-Mudd.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, the report of the meetings held by the Seniors Advisory Council in 1991 notes that, and I quote, almost all the questions and comments relating to income support were about the need for the Alberta Widows Pension Program to expand coverage to divorced and single people. To the Minister, will he now respond to the needs of single and divorced people excluded from the coverage by amending the Widows Pension Act?
Mr. Speaker, we respond to that need today through our Supports for Independence program.
Well, let's try another tack, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister responsible for women and for human rights. The Widows Pension Act clearly violates the Individual Rights Protection Act, which includes marital status as a protected category, and condemns many people, the majority of whom are women who have either spent their lives caring for children or working in low-paying jobs traditionally done by women, to ending their lives in conditions of poverty. Will the Minister now recognize the serious injustice inherent in the Widows Pension Act by committing to amending the Act to bring it in line with the Individual Rights Protection Act so that assistance is given on the basis of need rather than marital status?
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, some 2 years, I think, ago now, the government undertook a review of the issue of pensions, and with particular emphasis on women who are receiving pensions. In the meantime, the minister responsible for seniors has launched an extensive series of discussions across Alberta with seniors, and I believe is touching upon a number of economic issues as they impact on seniors. We are waiting for the conclusion of that process because we think that the discussion should dovetail, and when we have the report, we will have more to report.
Edmonton White-Mudd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The minister responsible for telecommunications has assured us that the system's financing loans provided by Alberta taxpayers is fully secure, but evidence points otherwise. Contrary to what we heard in response to the member from Calgary Northwest, another recent case is that of Newmark and Lewis, a bankrupt TV and appliance retailer with $517,000 in Novotel debts. To the minister responsible for telecommunications, can the minister explain how a TV shop, not a communications company, but a TV shop in Hicksville, New York, could be given Alberta taxpayers' money?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member would be pleased to give me some information about the situation, I'd be glad to look in and report back.
Mr. Speaker, we'll be pleased to provide him with a listing of the bankruptcy file that is appropriate to that company. Would the minister then, under the circumstances that he is not familiar with any details of this particular department, respond to the information when given to him at a later date in this House and not simply it to the auditor?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think that the process that has been established with the Auditor General is a very responsible, independent process. And quite frankly, all aspects of the Novotel matter should be referred to that Auditor General. I think the taxpayers of Alberta want those answers and should get those answers and should get them soon. And so I support that process, and I think that's the appropriate course to follow.
Smoky River.
Mr. Speaker, just 2 days ago, during estimates of their Minister of Transportation and Utilities, the member from West Yellowhead referred to an Alberta graveled road as nothing more than a cow trail. I have here an article that indicates that the Saskatchewan government will be reverting paved roads back to graveled roads.
Really?
Since both the opposition parties have publicly stated that they oppose the paving of our secondary road program in Alberta, is our minister considering any such action?
Good point. Very good point.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear the tail end of that question because of the... Well, Mr. Speaker, my answer to the question is no, we are not considering converting paved roads back to gravel roads in this province.
Good answer.
My supplementary is also to the Minister of Transportation and Utilities. Is he aware of this program and how many miles are involved in this unique Saskatchewan program? And is our minister firm in maintaining our secondary paving program?
Tell us what you're doing.
Well, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the secondary program that was certainly misrepresented at the time that it was announced by a good number of the members of the press, and I look up to see if there's anybody there, we indicated at that time that we were going to pave the balance of the secondary highway system, and there was about 4,300 kilometers that was already paved in the 20 years leading up to that. And we accelerated that program to ensure that over the next 10 years we would complete that. We have moved from 42% to 55% as of this past year. Wow. And that's reasonably good progress under the terms and conditions of the dollars that are available. But on the article relative to the Saskatchewan reversion, if I can call it, back to gravel, there's 1,000 kilometers that they estimate will be reverted back, or I think the term is they will no longer be rehabilitated. They'll be allowed to revert back to gravel, and that also has a condition on it relative...
Keep going, boy. Keep going.
That also has a condition on it relating to the fact that if the 180 vehicles per day or less will be the ones that they're talking about. We don't intend to do that here.
Good going.
Edmonton Center.
Mr. Speaker, it's quite timely that just as world leaders are meeting at the Earth Summit in Rio, that the Minister of Energy and Environment should announce here the government's response to the very progressive report on a clean air strategy for Alberta. But it is quite ironic, Mr. Speaker, that while the Canadian delegation in Rio is signing a convention to freeze greenhouse gas emissions at 1990 levels, the Minister of Energy here has failed to lay out tangible thresholds or limits on pollutants emanating from sources in Alberta. Given that there are now several effective mechanisms for achieving clean air targets, including traditional regulatory instruments such as fines and penalties, and creative economic instruments such as tradable permits, why is the Minister of Energy and this government failed to take responsible action in establishing clear, tangible limits on point source emissions for our zone air quality management in Alberta.
Well, thanks for asking, Mr. Speaker. We yesterday announced from the Clean Air Strategy for Alberta some of the priority goals and objectives from that organization. And Mr. Speaker, in that report we have a unanimous report signed by all of the participants, stakeholders, including the Alberta Environmental Network, the Coal Association, the Electric Utility Planning Council, municipalities, the Canadian Petroleum Association, and a variety of stakeholders in the Clean Air Strategy for Alberta, Mr. Speaker. It was our purpose to ask all of the stakeholders to sit down and come to terms with the challenges of setting objectives for clean air. They sent to us a recommendation that is contained in this document. And yesterday, Mr. Speaker, and over the last number of months, we have drawn forward out of this document the recommendations given to us. So if the honourable member is asking about whether there should be limits or whether there should be targets, then I suggest that he talk to the stakeholders that report. Mr. Speaker, the report in this document...
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Now we'll hear about your report in the supplementary, I'm sure. Supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the biggest stakeholder seems to me the people of Alberta, represented by government action in this province, which has failed to take the responsibility of setting limits. Mr. Speaker, Alberta puts more pollutants in the air per capita than any other province in the country, and this does not ensure a healthy future for our children. Mr. Speaker, as well as the failure to be more active and definitive on targets and limits on emissions, and Albertans and the stakeholders are also still waiting for legislative action on energy efficiency, Mr. Speaker. Why has the Minister of Energy failed on that score to introduce legislation to establish minimum energy efficiency standards for all energy-using equipment, including the testing of automobiles and other vehicle emissions?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know who the honourable member speaks for, not Albertans, because the people who speak for Albertans participated in the Clean Air Strategy, and our government is responding in a very effective way with regard to their recommendations. On the specific point the honourable member is referring to, if he read the release yesterday, he would know that the Honourable Minister of Labour is presently looking at legislation to deal with the matters the honourable member has referred to. This is not going to be a short-term, grab-a-headline process, Mr. Speaker. It's going to be long-term, it's going to be thoughtful, and it's going to be in place for a long time in this province, and it's going to include the people that are affected. And, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member does not agree with this process, then he is not representing the views of Albertans.
Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand that people from Ski Kananaskis, the operator of the Nikiska Ski Hill, recently met with the Minister of Tourism. Despite assigning a 15-year lease on terms that were highly favorable to the operator, Ski Kananaskis has apparently not made their lease payments to the Alberta government for the last 2 ski seasons. This has meant a revenue loss to taxpayers of somewhere around $160,000 to $170,000. I'd like to ask the Minister of Tourism whether Ski Kananaskis is contemplating turning the keys over to the province if they don't get a further bailout from this government.
You would have to ask the proponents, Mr. Speaker.
You've had no contact with them?
Yeah.
Well, I would hope that the minister would know what's going on out there. I find it hard to understand that Ski Kananaskis might not be able to make a profit. They don't have any capital costs. They had a sweetheart deal on their lease. They had a $1,000 bailout from this government a few years ago. If they can't make a profit, they've got a big management problem or a ski hill that should never have been built there in the first place.
Hear, hear.
I'd like to ask the Minister of Tourism whether the government will compound the problem at that hill by sinking more money into Nikiska by building housing there, or will he simply tell Ski Kananaskis to meet its lease obligations and get on with it?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, they have a lease. It's been renewed. They know their obligations as a business. And it isn't a favorable lease. I think the minister, my predecessor, did an excellent job in negotiating a very good long-term lease. And if they can't fulfill the lease obligations, they have business decisions to make. The preamble to his question, though, and misleading information, Mr. Speaker, in some accusations that are quite unfair.
Member for Westlock Sturgeon, followed by Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Solicitor General likes to talk tough about young offenders, but at the same time he's blocking them from treatment that might keep them from repeating. One young sex offender sat in custody, for instance, Mr. Speaker, in Calgary for months without treatment. My question to the Solicitor General is, why can't this government work out a system to help or cure our sick young sex offenders before they get into worse problems?
Too difficult.
We are, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Solicitor General is blowing air again. The judge in this young man's Calgary case, for example, ordered specific treatment for him. Yet the Solicitor General, the one that says we are, instead of following the order, is spending money now, tax money, trying to fight the order. Explain that, if you will.
Mr. Speaker, there is a degree of sub judice in this case, as it may rest before the courts. But let me just answer directly that in the case you're on very sensitive ground with a young individual that's been involved here and their family. But the division is not attempting to have the youth placed in a group home funded by the department. In fact, it is attempting to see a period of custody ordered by the court that would allow us to address the needs of this individual. The nature of the youth's offenses and his current family situation does not allow the youth's residency in the family home that you are trying to allude that we're escaping. Subsequently, the family is currently arranging alternative living arrangements for the youth with the Department of Family and Services. I'm not in a position at this time to indicate anything further, but we are doing all that we can in this very sensitive situation to find help for this young individual.
Wainwright. Order, please. Wainwright.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife concerning the youth hunter licenses. I'd like to commend the Minister first and his department for initiating a program that encourages young people into the sport of hunting and which encourages youth training before obtaining a big game hunting license. However, it has been brought to my attention that a young hunter who in the Wainwright area who qualifies can buy a big game license from a Wainwright licensing outlet for $22. If he goes to the Vermilion office, he can purchase the same license for $5. Given that there is a 40 to 50 mile drive between the two towns, could the minister explain why this unfairness?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, we had a lot of discussions over the last year with hunters and also with the Fish and Game Association. And the recommendation to us was that we look at a reduced license fee for young hunters and thereby encourage more young people to hunt. And so we did that. We came out with a $5 wildlife certificate and a $5 license fee. And we decided at that time to distribute those licenses through our regional offices and not through the district offices. The reason we did that, Mr. Speaker, is that, first of all, it was to save some $10,000 that could be saved in the process with the printing costs. But most importantly, it was to have a trial run in our regional offices with our staff and make absolutely sure that we cleared away any problems there were with the issuing of those licenses. So, Mr. Speaker, that's why there is a higher cost, I suppose, if you're in a district office over a regional office.
Wainwright.
Mr. Speaker, then, could I ask the minister that if this proves out to be successful, are we going to change it so that we don't have to drive that far to save our $17?
Mr. Speaker, it's our intention after the first year of operation that once we get all the glitches out of it, then of course we would make it available through our licensed vendor system as other licenses. But since the member for Wainwright raised it, I'll have some more discussion with the Fish Association, and if it's creating hardship for young hunters, we'll review it.
West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, the Department of Transport has just finished removing gravel from the bank of the McLeod River near the town of Piers to supply for some road improvements. The removal occurred despite serious concerns of many of the residents downstream from the site, with no public hearings or consultation. As well, officials in the Minister's Department have admitted that they have found gravel just as cheap at other sites. I wonder if the Minister could tell us why the Department refused to listen to the concerns of local residents and stuck with the location on the riverbank when it could have simply chosen a less contentious and more environmentally sensitive area.
Mr. Speaker, that question in a sense was haywire, but let me just correct some things. Consultation, there was consultation on the 22nd of November 1988 between the Water Resources Division, the Transportation and Utility people, and the local landowners. That's the consultation that took place at that time. We had the Water Resources review it. They gave and issued a permit in 1991 for removing that gravel, and the design at that time was also put in place by the Water Resources people. The contract that's presently underway will be finished on June the 10th. That's today. And the cleanup will be finished by Friday.
Mr. Speaker, I hope there is a cleanup. I was looking at the mess yesterday. But this is only the first part of a two-part project. In 1993, a spot farther upstream is to be excavated for its gravel. Will the minister guarantee that the second excavation will not occur until thorough, extensive consultation has taken place with the residents in the area and their concerns being addressed?
Well, Mr. Speaker, two things that need to be pointed out. It's my responsibility to get gravel as reasonably priced as possible for the province of Alberta on behalf of the people of Alberta. And if we apply to the Department of Environment through their Water Resources Division, and they then do the plan and put it in place, then we are, at that point, doing what we have suggested we need to do, is to follow the rules and regulations. Pardon me. And I won't give you that commitment that we won't remove gravel next year. We need it. And you guys just keep going on. I don't know how you ever listen to answers.
They don't care about the answer.
Don't care about the answer. Got your mind made up.
But two things come out of that, is that the obvious need for the gravel, the insurance that we're doing it according to the rules, and that, in fact, Mr. Speaker, has taken place.
Order, please. You don't have another question. Thank you. Time for question period has expired. Point of order, Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would cite Standing Order 23, subsections H and I. H being when a member makes allegations against another member, and I being imputes false or unavowed motives to another member. The minister for... Oh, he's... Yeah.
What, ducking, hiding?
Minister of Family and Social Services there, so he might return to the chamber because of this point of order. The House will just sit for a while. Orders of the day. Thank you.